Welcome back to Matrix Uploaded. In this segment, we're going to be looking at a poem by John Donne. Death, be not proud. Death, be not proud, though some have called thee mighty and dreadful, for thou art not so. For those whom thou think'st thou dost overthrow die not, poor death, nor yet canst thou kill me. From rest and sleep, which but thy pictures be, much pleasure, then from thee much more must flow, and soonest our best men with thee do go, rest of their bones and soul's delivery. Thou art slave to fate, chance, kings, and desperate men, and dost with poison, war, and sickness dwell, and poppy or charms can make us sleep as well and better than thy stroke. Why swell'st thou then? One short sleep past, we wake eternally, and death shall be no more. Death, thou shalt die. We said that our first stage is finding out about the poet, the time that the poem was written, and the structure of the poem. Donne is a very important 17th century poet called the metaphysical poets. These are poets that appealed to people's intellect, to their thinking. They challenged the way that we think. They often wrote about religious and scientific matters, and you can see from this poem that Donne was a Christian and believed that when the body dies, we shall rise again with a recognizable spiritual body, and that there shall be life after death. The poem is a sonnet. It has 14 lines, and it has a very specific rhyme scheme. Stage 2 is reading about the poem and analyzing it. Our first step is summarizing the content of the poem. In the poem, Donne addresses death directly, telling death that he has nothing to be proud of. He says that death cannot defeat him. Death is simply a more pleasant form of sleep, leading to eternal life. Step 2 is to analyze each unit of the poem. In step 2, we need to look at each unit, each group of words that conveys a specific idea, and I want to focus on just a few of them. Donne starts by talking directly to death and telling death not to be proud. Although he says some people have called thee, that's death, mighty, powerful, and dreadful. Dread is fear, so dreadful means very frightening. He says, thou art not so. Death is not powerful, and death is not frightening. Why not? Because he says death cannot kill us. Death cannot kill him. He says, in fact, those whom thou think'st thou dost overthrow. To overthrow is to defeat or to conquer. They do not die. And notice the way that he speaks to death. He says, poor death, oh, did shame. He's laughing at death. He's mocking death, because death thinks that he kills us, but death does not. In fact, he talks about rest and sleep, and he says that rest and sleep are pictures of death. So when we rest or when we go to sleep, we look as if we're dead. Now, do we get much pleasure from rest and sleep? Of course we do. So he says, if rest and sleep are only pictures of death, then from thee, that is death itself, much more what? Pleasure. Much more pleasure from death itself, because it's the real thing. It's not just a picture. And he says that the best men go soonest, go the quickest with death, because death will bring rest of their bones, a physical rest, and the soul's delivery. And delivery means freedom. So the soul is freed from the body to go to God. He says that death is in fact a slave. Death has no power at all. What controls death? Fate, what has to happen, chance, accident, kings who have the power to kill people in war or to execute people, desperate men who can kill others or kill themselves. In fact, he says death is associated with poison, war, and sickness, with horrible things. Poppy is the drug, morphine, charms are spells. So he says, in fact, other things are even better than death. One short sleep past, death is a short sleep. We wake eternally, here is the theme of your poem, and death will be no more, because death itself will die. Death will end. We will rise to eternal life. We've looked at the words, we've seen how the words link into the theme of the poem. In the next segment, we're going to look at another sonnet.